Hello, people of the internet. My name is Kay, and welcome to Yas Veritas, or welcome back to Yas Veritas, my hyperfixation palace. This is part 2 of ranking 100 TV shows that I watched as a kid. In the interest of time, I think we should jump right into it, but I am going to quickly re-explain the tiers and criteria. So, in order to qualify for this ranking, the show had to be released between 1990 and 2010. I have to remember watching it to some degree, and that's pretty much it. As for the tiers, Tier 1 is literally watching it right now. Tier 2 is peak viewing experience. Tier 3 is will cry from nostalgia. Tier 4 is fond memories. Tier 5 is classics. Tier 6 is odd but harmless. Tier 7 is who approved this. And Tier 8 is Uncanny Valley Nightmare Fuel. So here is the first 25 shows I ranked in part 1, and I'm going to jump right into it by spinning my little spinning wheel. Okay, here we go. Number 26 is Maya and Miguel. I think this was one of the first shows that really portrayed kids at school going through, like, kids at school-esque problems. I remember the Picture Day episode where nobody liked how they looked in their picture and then realized everyone feels that way about school pictures sometimes. It was just very realistic and really fun. I'm definitely going to put it in fond memories. Next is Dragon Tales. I remember the show had a very soft curriculum. It was really about kids learning how to, like, understand how to deal with their, like, emotions and morals, I think. I could be completely misremembering. I thought Emmy and Max were cute, the two kids that stumble upon Dragonland. My favorite dragon was definitely Cassie. I related to her. I thought she was very sweet and mild-mannered, but I don't remember much else. Definitely gonna go in classics. Oh my gosh, yes! The next show is Johnny Test, and this was one of my absolute favorites. I was just so hyped to see what kind of insane shenanigans Johnny and Mary and Susan and Dookie, I think that was the dog's name, would get up to. Speaking of the twins, I loved Mary Test so much. Susan was there too, but I don't know, I think something about Mary just, we got each other. I did rewatch it when I was in middle school, but I haven't in a while. I don't think I would ever cry watching it, because I don't have that, like, gently holds type of nostalgia with Johnny Test. It's more like, let's throw up some rock and roll signs and headbang to the theme song kind of nostalgia.
Got a head of fiery hair and a turbocharged backpack. The genius sisters use him like a lab rat.
So I think it's going to go in peak viewing experience because this went hard. Next is Me, Eloise, and I loved this show so much. The animation style was nearly identical to that of the book illustrations, and it just made everything so magical. It felt like the books were coming to life, and it's just so wholesome and so chaotic, and honestly really funny. And while I do rewatch the Christmas episode every year, I don't think I'm going to put it in literally watching it right now, because I haven't gone out of my way to rewatch the whole series, and I don't have that amount of emotional connection to it as I do like My Little Pony, so I think it's going to go in peak viewing experience. Okay, next is Handy Manny, and this was a Playhouse Disney show, and it was just super simple and fun. It was just a handyman, hence the name, and his, I think, 12 or so sentient tools going around town and fixing little things like playground equipment or bowling alley equipment or washing machines. I don't remember much else. It was very repetitive. There was no overlaying story, but it was still a fun watch for me as a kid. I think it's gonna go in fond memories. Oh god. Next is Caillou. And if you know, you know the outrage. Parents were like, he's a terrible role model for my kid because he sucks. And yes, Caillou sucks. He's such a mean older brother and a very bratty kid. But the show itself was kind of enjoyable. Like, he was obnoxious, but I liked his parents, I liked his friends, and I liked the theme song. I think it's hilarious that this well-intentioned show is actually making kids behave worse than they did before because he behaves so poorly and sometimes gets away with it. That's funny. I'm sorry, it's funny. And it's a classic. Oh wow, the Book of Pooh, the first of several Winnie the Pooh entries in this list because it is my favorite thing ever. Probably not genuinely, but as a kid it was my favorite IP. The Book of Pooh was a very short-lived, very odd iteration of Winnie the Pooh. They were sort of outside the book because the original stories were A.A. Milne's books. But in this version, the characters were reading the book about them. And it was all pretty much the same adventures that every Winnie the Pooh cartoon follows. The blustery day and him getting stuck in the honey tree and so on and so forth. However, the puppetry of the show / animation of the show was bizarre. I couldn't tell if they were puppets or if they were 3D animated, but they just look bad. So much so that I think it's going to go in harmless but odd, because although I love Winnie the Pooh very, very dearly, this animation was not it. Ah! Oh my gosh! Back to back Winnie the Pooh! The next show is My Friends Tigger and Pooh, and this was one of my absolute favorites. This is a Winnie the Pooh show that placed the characters in new contexts, which I loved. The main character of this series is not Christopher Robin, it is his younger cousin Darby, played by the lovely Chloe Grace Moretz. This was my introduction to her as an actor, and I have loved her ever since. As I mentioned previously in part 1, super sleuthing, detectiving was a huge part of my childhood. This started it. Because in this universe, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, and Darby solve mysteries in the 100-Acre Wood, and they are the super sleuths. I adore this show. Looking back, the animation is a little wonky, but I honestly forgive it because it is not as creepy as the Book of Pooh. Every year I watch the Christmas special that served as the show's pilot in like 2006 or 7, I don't know. I think during lockdown I rewatched the whole show. I think it's definitely going to go in Will Cry from nostalgia because I love it so much. It's just the best. What a masterpiece. Next is Pocoyo, and this was a very cute show. The characters didn't talk. There was a narrator describing what they did. I only remember 2 other characters. There was Pato the duck and Ellie the elephant, and I thought they were both hilarious, but again, they didn't do anything. It was very sweet. They'd like dance around and like build stuff. It was fine. It was fine for what it was. But I think I'm going to put it in harmless but odd because, I don't know, because it was a little odd, but it was sweet and simple, but odd. Yo, next is Imagination Movers, and this went so incredibly hard. So Imagination Movers was sort of a band, but they were also inventors of sort. I don't know how to describe it because they kind of did everything. They sang songs about things like days of the week as like a mnemonic. They solved little mysteries that went on among them. It was cool. I don't remember anything about the plot or their names. Definitely goes into peak viewing experience because while I don't remember it, I remember loving it. Although I know it went hard, I can't remember what aspects of it made it so good. But trust that it did. Number 36 is Strawberry Shortcake, 2003. This was one of the first shows I remember really, really, really loving as a kid. If you watched my Ranking All My Kins videos, Orange Blossom from Strawberry Shortcake 2003 was one of my earliest kins. She was one of the first characters I really, really related to and loved and like identified with on like a deep level. I still have some of my old Strawberry Shortcake dolls from this era and a bunch of old sticker books. I just adore this show so much. Not only is it very sweet and wholesome, it's also actually pretty funny. I rewatched it in entirety a few years ago when me and one of my best friends, Nakano Cosplay, built our big 1980s Strawberry Shortcake and Orange Blossom cosplays for Castle Point 2023. I think I might have to put it in literally watching right now because it's just so much fun. It just fills me with so much joy and like childlike wonder. Even though it's often relatively simple, it's so nice. I love it. Oh my gosh, next we have another one of my absolute favorites, Wow Wubsy. This is another show I watched religiously as a kid. This show was just so much unapologetic fun. This show was also incredibly hilarious, and also was a major draw for celebrities for some reason. I remember they had Beyonce and Michelle Kwan and LeBron James and some other football player and also some home renovation guy. If I find their names, I'll put them on screen because I don't remember off the top of my head. But I was just so amazed looking back and realizing that I first learned of Beyonce's existence from Wow Wubsy. And that's so funny. It's so funny. This show is too much fun, and it has to go in literally watching it right now because a few years ago I did watch all of it in its entirety. I think it was over quarantine, but it's just so energizing and fun, and the songs between each 12-minute section of an episode, those were always so much fun. So, yep, up to the top it goes. Okay, next is Super Why, and this was a classic in my household. Another PBS show that was very educational, but also so much fun. It had a very lighthearted fairy tale-esque premise. All of the main characters belonged to different fairy tales. There was Princess and the Pea, there was Wyatt, the younger brother of Jack from Jack and the Beanstalk, one of the three little pigs, and Red Riding Hood. And they all would travel into different stories, fairy tale stories, and change them in order to help character X solve their problem through learning to read, figuring out what words went where, spelling, all of the above. It was just so much fun. The theme song and closing song were both really good. I don't have enough nostalgia to cry watching it, so I think it might have to go in fond memories. I will switch some things around so it's near the front, but it was just such a delight. Okay, number 39 is The Tweenies. This show is something I do remember watching as a very, very young child. I was like under 2, I think, according to my family. I remember the theme song and one possible episode, I think. I don't remember exactly if this is from this show, but there was like an episode about like different hair types and like hair acceptance, I think. Please correct me if I'm wrong because I could just be making this up. I hope I'm not, but I don't know. It sort of reminded me of like a Sesame Street, I don't want to say wannabe, but it was sort of in that similar category. But all the characters were puppets. I genuinely do not remember my opinion of this show when I first watched it, but I look back on the character designs now, and just by looking at the poster alone, it's going in the, I mean, maybe odd but harmless, but it's getting towards who approved this, because the characters, they look so uncanny. Not Uncanny Valley Nightmare Fuel, but still just a little creepy. And I feel bad saying so, because I'm sure this show was lovely. They don't, I don't know, those designs they're just, they're freaking me out, okay? Oh my gosh, and what a fantastic choice for number 40, Kim Possible. This show is so good. I can't say was, because it is still really great. It holds up so well. This was a Disney Channel show. I didn't watch much Disney Channel as a kid, because I was weirdly averse to shows that had laugh tracks, because in my brain I was like, that means they're for adults. But Kim Possible was animated and had no laugh track. So it was right up my alley. It fit into the sort of detective, Nancy Drew, super sleuth thing I had going on as a kid. I loved a secret agent moment. I loved Kim. I thought she was such a cool protagonist. I loved Ron too. I thought he was really funny, and I was really happy when they got together because when I first started the show, I just assumed they were together, and then finding out that, oh, they have to build up to a relationship. I didn't really understand that concept at the time it was airing, but it was so much fun to see these characters interact. I also loved Shigo. I thought she was the coolest. Yeah, I think it's got to go in literally watching it right now, because I did rewatch it in its entirety when I first got Disney Plus, I believe, and it's just a banger. It's so much fun. And of course, I cannot rank this show without mentioning it has one of the best theme songs in, I believe, Disney Channel history. It is so much fun to sing. I have the little Kim Possible beep as my text tone, so whenever I get a text with my ringer on, I hear the and I often have to stop myself from going right into it. Oh yeah! Yeah, I love it. It's an amazing song, and I had to mention it. Alright, next is The Busy World of Richard Scarry. In part 1, I ranked Busy Town Mysteries, which was a much more modern and recent adaptation of Richard Scarry's novels. Novels? They were children's books, what am I saying? The Busy World of Richard Scarry was a lot simpler than Busy Town Mysteries. It was sort of what it sounds like. It was a city called Busy Town, and the characters went about their daily lives in a much more, I guess, chill way. I do remember specific episodes. I remember the Busy People episode and the song that went with that. I also remember the Mother Goose Tales episode. I thought those were both really, really fun. I don't remember anything else about the show, though. I have some DVDs, but they are scratched and unplayable, which is really disappointing, because I wanted to check it out. That being said, I think it's going to have to go in classics. I don't know how many people out there actually watched this, but my extended family, all my cousins grew up on it, and it was just a classic to us, even though I don't know anybody who actually watched it outside of my family, but that's just where I feel like it should go. Next is Team Umizoomi, and this is probably the latest show on my list. I think it came out in 2010, but I really did enjoy it. It followed 3 characters, Millie, Geo, and Bot. Millie and Geo were brother-sister, I think they were twins, and Bot was their robot friend. He's just there, no explanation needed. He's also voiced by Donovan Patton, who played Joe in Blue's Clues, which I thought was really funny. And their thing was math. They had mighty math powers, and they would use these powers to solve the problems of kids in the live-action world. There was one special episode that I remember very vividly. It was the Shape Bandit. If I'm not mistaken, it's like a cat-like creature steals Geo's shape belt, which allows him to build stuff. And they have to go on this wild goose chase to find him. And I remember it being absolutely hilarious, but that's kind of it. I kind of remember the little evil song the bandit sang. It was pretty funny, but again, I don't remember that much about it. I think it's going to go in fond memories, because I don't know if it's a classic. It doesn't feel like a classic, but I also don't have enough attachment to it to put it any higher than fond memories. Okay, so next up is Maisy, and this is another really old show, at least in the grand scheme of my existence. This was one of the earlier shows I watched, and I remember also having the books. Maisy was a little mouse, and she was super colorful. All the characters looked like drawings. For the most part, I believe they didn't talk. They went about their little adventures and played their little instruments, and I think they might have made some little sounds, but the music really carried the story, I believe. I remember what all the characters looked like. I don't remember their names. I think this will have to go in fond memories, and I do know some people who have heard of Maisy, but I wouldn't consider it a classic. I remember it being very sweet and definitely something you could put on to entertain a really young child, but this one in particular didn't exactly grasp child me. Next is Martha Speaks, and this is definitely going in classics. This is a show that I know a lot of my peers at the time really, really liked. I liked it too. I had the books as well. I think maybe just the first one. Maybe there was only one. I don't know. But, there was one thing about the show that kind of irked me, and it was in the theme song when they show Martha eating the alphabet soup and the letters going to her brain. I thought it was scary the way they sort of showed, like, a kid-friendly, like, brain diagram. It shows, like, the letters going up, I guess instead of going down the esophagus, going up into the brain, and that made me a little squeamish. But the show itself was lovely. I thought, I don't remember her name, the main character. I thought she was really fun. She felt like a real kid. And I don't remember what else really went on in the show. I do remember the episode where they were trying to either save or open a restaurant called Burger Boy. I remember the song, but I don't remember what else went on. This show overall was very fun, and even though I don't remember as much as I would like to, it's definitely a classic, and I definitely really did enjoy it. Avatar: The Last Airbender. If you watch my channel, you know how much Avatar means to me. I love Avatar so much. It is definitely going to the very, very top of the tier list. Literally watching it right now because I would and could and have rewatched it, and it's just one of my favorite pieces of media of all time in general. I still am mind blown that it's a brainchild of Nickelodeon because it really stands out among their, I guess, filmography. I've mentioned ad nauseum my deep connection to Katara in my Rankingkins videos, and I've cosplayed her, and I just adore her so much. She was another one of the first characters I really started to identify with as like an older little kid. But yeah, for now I'm going to place it in the open space in literally watching right now because I will eventually reorganize all the shows in the list once I've ranked everything. But yes, this is top tier television, top tier media. It's just so good. The storytelling, the voice acting, it's unbelievable, honestly. And it holds up as one of the best animated children's shows, or just animated shows, period, to this day. I love it. And if you haven't watched it, do it now. Thank me later. On second thought, finish the video first and then go watch it. Okay, number 46 is Bubble Guppies. And I really liked this show when it came out. I think it might either still be airing or recently ended. I didn't think it would run it for as long as it did. But it came out in, I think, between 2006 and 9, I think. And it was a very simple show. I love anything related to swimming, underwater, mermaid. So I loved that they were little mer people, and they just went to school and learned about pretty much anything from what it takes to build a building, about the solar system, about hospitals, about dinosaur bones, about literally anything. And the songs were always incredibly, incredibly fun. They went a little too hard. I was like, why are these really good? Why do I want to listen to these outside the context of the show as an adult? Why? They're so good. But my favorite song from the show is one that I didn't watch when it aired, because I think this episode came out only a handful of years ago, and it's kind of sweeping the internet. It's called Flightless Birds.
Who wrote the rule that said a thing with feathers absolutely has to fly? Fly. Why must they fly? Some creatures have two wings that flap, but you won't find them up there in the sky. Try, they're not up there in the sky. Gravity they don't defy, they'll never soar, won't even try. Have you heard? About the flightless bird? With wings that flap, they've been supplied, but after that things went awry. Well, have you heard? About the flightless bird? They're quite intent, they're on the ground. To see them, don't look up, look down.
It is the funniest thing I've ever seen, because why did Bubble Guppies create such a catchy electro swing song about flightless birds? And why am I seeing dozens of fandom edits to this song? And why do I know every word of it? And why do I have my own ideas for fan edits to this song in my head. It's insane. People are already starting to say that it's cringe, but to be cringe is to be free, okay? I think it's fantastic. It's hysterical. The show was genuinely enjoyable, and I am not going to pretend that I don't have some of those songs on a Childhood Bops playlist somewhere. So, I think it's going to go in peak viewing experience. It's not literally watching it right now because I don't feel the need to rewatch the show. It was just a bang-on good time. It just was. So, yeah, peak viewing experience. Okay, number 47 is Fetch with Ruffman. And I'm going to externalize a thought I've had for a very long time that may be terrible. It may be absolutely insane. But to me, Ruffman kind of gave me like Guy Fieri energy. He was like the Guy Fieri of PBS Kids. Please tell me that I am not alone in thinking this, because I feel absolutely bonkers. But the sort of mischievous game show energy that this program had was just so much fun, and for some reason, he just gave me like Guy's Grocery Games energy. I don't know why, but it just did. It was so much fun. I definitely was one of those kids who wished they could be on the show, but had no idea how or why, and eventually that desire to be on the show went away, and I just enjoyed it. But it was just so enticing. It was just so much fun to watch. He was such a chaotic host, and it was such a unique premise for a kids show that really shouldn't have worked, but it worked incredibly well. So, that being said, I think this is going to go in classics, because I know it has gotten a lot of love here on YouTube, and it's just a staple. Next is Yo Gabba Gabba, and this is another show that I did like as a kid, but was somewhat wary of. I thought the premise of little toys coming to life and having their own adventures in their specific toy world, and each character had their own little area where they came from. But something that always bothered me, very minimal critique here, but Plex, the robot, didn't have his own world. He sort of had a door in the flower world, but all the other characters had like a designated place. Like the cat had her little ice world, the green guy had the forest, the flower girl, Fufa, I think her name was, had the flower world, and Muno, the red alien dude, had like the moon rocks cave area, and I was just like, get Plex his own robot area. I remember that the show had some pretty wild song guests. I know they had the Ting Tings on to provide like the song of the day. They also had some crazy celebrity guests to visit in-universe with the characters. They had Jack Black, they had Layla Ali, and they had Andy Samberg. Those are the three I remember very vividly. It was definitely a show with good intentions. The characters were a little they were just weird. So I think this is going to end up in the odd but harmless category, because I don't think there was any harm done, but the show could just be kind of nutty. Next, we have Blue's Clues, and this is an absolute classic. I think for me, though, it's definitely going to go in Will Cry from Nostalgia, because this show was a huge part of my childhood, and so many others. It is just such a comfort. I haven't seen it in a very, very long time, but I know that if I did, I would probably get a little more than a little emotional. I don't know what it is about this show, but I know that it captured so many hearts during its runtime. I happened to span both Steve and Joe's runs as hosts. I know some people stopped watching when Steve left or had aged out by that point, or some kids were born after Steve left and only knew Joe as their host, but I really loved them both. I honestly cannot decide which one I like better. It was just so perfect. It had everything I feel like a kid could want in a show. There was some Some live action, some mostly animation, but it was just genius. It was, again, mystery solving, which was like instantly skyrockets something to the top of my list. I loved all the little characters. I was a huge fan of Side Table in particular. I don't know why, she just got me. I just vibed with her so hard. I just cannot stress enough how much I loved this show. I do have one Blue's Clues DVD in my parents' house. I have never really felt the need to watch it again, but I know that if I did, it would just touch my heart and like definitely bring me to tears. So, will cry from nostalgia, 100%. And number 50, the halfway mark on our road to 100, is Bob the Builder, the original claymation version. Bob the Builder was a very fun show. It was very simple, it was very sweet. I liked Dizzy, the little cement truck, I think. I also liked Spud, the scarecrow. I remember he would get up to all kinds of mischief. This is definitely, I feel like, a classic. A lot of people watched and liked Bob the Builder, so I think I'm going to put it in classics. That is a nice way to end this part of our journey. We have ranked half of the 100 TV shows I watched during childhood. We've got 50 more to go, 2 parts to go. So, that being said, here is my full ranking, including the 25 shows from part 1 and the 25 from today. I am going to get started on part 3 very, very soon. Thank you all so much for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Also, please comment down below if you've seen any of the shows I've mentioned in either part, which one was your favorite, and thank you all so much for watching. I love you. Thank you for your love on part 1, and I am so excited to see you in my next video. Bye!